Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries.
Newlywed Judy Smith joined her husband on a business trip to Philadelphia. Then she vanished without a trace. Some believe she was assaulted and lost her memory. Others thought she engineered her own disappearance. A young girl and a 5-month-old infant are abducted. Now 2 grief-stricken mothers need your help in finding their missing children. Like the character Dr. Doolittle, Sonya Fitzpatrick says she can talk to the animals. Case after case, she astounds the skeptics. Is it a miraculous gift or merely clever showmanship? After an explosion and fire destroyed an Arizona home, firefighters discovered the murdered bodies of a woman and her 2 children in the smoldering ruins. But the man of the house was nowhere to be found. Could this seemingly devoted husband and father have been involved in killing his own family? Join me. Someone somewhere has a one vital clue that can help solve a mystery. Perhaps it's you. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Jeff and Judy Smith are on vacation, mixing business with pleasure. Jim has spent the day at a conference. Judy has been sightseeing. They have agreed to meet at their hotel at 5 p.m.
Judy?
So I got back to the hotel room about 5:30, and she wasn't there. And by about 6:30, I was starting to get worried. She was somebody who believed in being absolutely on time. In fact, if you were on time, you were already late by her standards.
Jeff contacts hospitals and the police, but he turns up nothing. He then searches Philadelphia by taxi.
Driver, I want to follow the route for the flash bus.
He traces a path of the tour bus Judy had planned to ride that day.
I was fearful that something had happened to her, but I actually believed that I would be able to find her. It was mind-boggling. I just couldn't figure out what could have happened to her.
Months went by, but no trace of Judy Smith was found. The Philadelphia police were just as perplexed as her husband. They could find no evidence she had been murdered or abducted. Judy's family believed she had an accident and developed amnesia, but some of her closest friends were convinced she engineered her own disappearance.
It didn't make sense to me. So I thought that my mom didn't know who she was and was lost in the city, and, that was horrible to think.
Judy Smith shared a special closeness with Amy, but 2 divorces had created a void in her life. She and Jeff were married only 5 months before she disappeared. Independent and strong-willed, she was adept at looking out for herself, yet possessed a generous spirit.
Judy was caring, loving, responsible, and someone I loved deeply.
She had a way, and she did this for me. She just took people into her lives and somehow made them better just by being who she was, because she was a very caring person.
The mystery began at Boston's Logan Airport. Here, a curious chain of events began to unfold. Judy failed to bring her driver's license. Airline regulations prohibited her from boarding her flight without a photo ID.
And she told me to go ahead and that she would take a later plane and come down and meet me. with some reluctance, I agreed to do that.
Thanks, I'll give you a call.
In Philadelphia that day, Jeff attended his business conference. At 10 p.m., Judy arrived at their hotel.
I brought you some flowers as an apology for what happened at the
You
airport.
don't have to apologize. I missed you so much. How was your flight?
Sometime after 9 o'clock the next morning, Judy set out for her day of sightseeing. As always, she carried her belongings in her trademark red backpack. She had told Jeff she planned to visit Independence Hall and see the Liberty Bell. Whatever caused Judy to vanish occurred during the next 8 hours. After the Philadelphia police turned up no trace of Judy, Jeff had no choice but to return to Boston. From his office, he faxed and mailed 9,000 flyers about Judy from Maine to Florida. He also hired 3 private investigators, but they uncovered no significant clues. 5 months after Judy vanished, a father and son were hiking near Asheville, North Carolina. They found a partially buried skeleton, which animals had strewn over a 100-yard area.
Our victim was a white female, probably in her late 40s to mid 50s. And the pathologist's report indicates that there's puncture wounds and cuts on the bra, which could be consistent with stab wounds.
Jeff's flyers had been circulated throughout the area, so a request was made for Judy's dental records. Forensics experts confirmed that the homicide victim was Judy Smith.
I was shocked. I guess you always anticipate that your parent will die, but not early. We always talked about when I would have kids and looking forward to that day. And I guess I just never thought that she wouldn't be there for that.
The information came that the dental records matched, and my first reaction was I didn't believe it.
How did Judy Smith end up 700 miles from where she vanished? 4 eyewitnesses in Asheville claimed to have encountered Judy just days after she had mysteriously vanished from Philadelphia.
Hi there.
Hi.
One of them was retail
help you find
clerk
anything?
Joanne Stucker.
She seemed very alert to me. She was very pleasant. I didn't see anything about her that would indicate that she wasn't right in any way.
Where are you from?
I'm from Boston.
Oh, I love Boston. I have a friend named there. Judy Casey, that's it.
Really? My name's Judy, too.
She told me her husband was an attorney and that they were from Boston and that they had been in Pennsylvania and he was at a convention and she decided to come down here.
If Judy left Philadelphia of her own free will, a question loomed. Why?
At the time this happened, Jeff and Judy's marriage was very tenuous. I believe that something did happen in Boston that triggered her to want to have some time away from Jeff. I don't believe that she would have shown up at the airport without her driver's license if she hadn't decided that that was a way for her to kind of gracefully let Jeff head towards Philadelphia and give her some time. And I think then she maybe did show up at the hotel, brought him flowers to placate him, and then made her move.
I'm not going to try to suggest that she and I never had a disagreement, but I believe she was happy with her life at this point.
She loved Jeff, and you don't do that to someone that you love. And if she did leave, the only thing I can think is maybe something happened to her before she had time to call.
What scenario resulted in Judy's murder in an isolated area of North Carolina? Who stabbed her, then left her in a shallow grave? Was it a stranger, or someone she may have schemed to meet in Asheville?
If you're looking for the mystery man, there wasn't one.
Is it this way?
Judy was the type of person that could have easily bumped into another person and spent some time with them. Everybody was a good person to Judy. And I think that was what made her vulnerable to whatever happened to her.
It doesn't make sense that my mom would leave Philadelphia. It doesn't make sense that she would be found in Asheville. It doesn't make sense that someone would hurt her.
Investigators trying to understand what happened found 2 clues to who may have murdered her.
We found a blue and black backpack at the crime scene. I believe that the backpack that was left doesn't belong to Judith Smith. I believe that it potentially belongs to our suspect. There was a pair of sunglasses there. These particular glasses were manufactured by Bolay. They retail for somewhere around $110. And speaking with Judith's friends, Judith wouldn't have spent $110 for a pair of glasses. But we believe that these glasses did not belong to Judith and that they potentially belong to our suspect.
North Carolina investigators still have no clue why Judy Smith was killed. Lieutenant Sam Constance does say, however, that they have ruled out robbery as a motive. Found at the crime scene was Judy's diamond wedding ring and $167 in cash. On the night of July 9th, Colleen Nick took her 6-year-old daughter Morgan to a Little League baseball game in Alma, Arkansas. It was an evening of shared joy between mother and child, with no hint of the nightmare about to unfold.
We'd made the choice to go, just Morgan and I, just to have girls' night out. And it was such a warm, close, fun night.
Hey, wanna come with us to catch some fireflies? Well, I don't know if my mom
Throughout the evening, 2 local girls asked Morgan to come play with them.
Mom, can me and my friends go catch fireflies?
Oh, I don't think so, honey.
Oh, Colleen, this should be fun.
Are you sure it's safe? Sure.
Finally, against my better judgment, I told her that she could go and play. And she threw her arms around my neck and gave me a big hug.
All right, stay where I can see you.
We could see them very clearly, and then the last time that I turned to look, Morgan was running back and forth playing.
But when the baseball game ended, the 2 girls returned to the field without Morgan.
Girls, where's Morgan?
By a car getting the sand out of her shoe.
Which car?
I don't know, yours, I guess.
I'll be right back, okay?
She was supposed to be dumping sand out of her shoes by my car, but I could see my car from where I was standing, and she wasn't there.
Morgan! Morgan!
I went over to the car, looked around the outside of the car, opened the doors, looked inside the car, thinking she had gotten in. Even at one point, looked under the car, just thinking she has to be here somewhere. And within a couple of minutes, all of the people and most of the cars were gone, and it was very clear that Morgan wasn't there.
As the parking lot emptied, panic began to overwhelm Colleen. One of the baseball coaches arrived and questioned the 2 girls.
Girls, look at me. When you were in the field, were you there alone?
They remembered seeing a man whom they described as creepy talking to Morgan in the field.
I'm gonna go call 911, okay?
Thank you.
One of the coaches had a cell phone and made the initial 911 call to law enforcement. They arrived within 6 minutes and began an immediate and massive search for Morgan that night.
But the initial search failed to find Morgan Nick. The media was alerted and flyers were posted. Weeks stretched into months and finally years, with no sign of the blonde-haired little girl.
It's the worst terror that any parent can ever feel. There's such a sense of it not being real somehow. It does not seem possible that your child could be missing, that someone could have taken your child.
For 5 long years, Colleen Nick has searched for her daughter Morgan. Faced with the same circumstances, many of us would have given up hope. Not Colleen. In fact, Colleen's personal tragedy has led to a remarkable transformation. The once shy mother has become a leading activist for missing children all across the country. In the months following Morgan's disappearance, Colleen successfully lobbied the media to turn Morgan's disappearance into a national news story. It was then that Colleen discovered she was not alone in her grief.
We began to get calls from other parents who had heard about Morgan, whose child was now missing, wanting to know what they could do, you know, where did they turn, what resources were available. And from that, we began to get involved in the bigger picture of children being missing.
Yes, come down. We really need your help.
1 year after her daughter's abduction, Colleen established the Morgan Nick Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to assisting families with missing children. The foundation has been instrumental in bringing several children safely home. Recently, Colleen Nick has become involved in the search for a missing 5-month-old girl in Arizona. Jacqueline Castaneda disappeared on May 6th. Her mother, 19-year-old Olivia Castaneda, hopes that Colleen and the Morgan Nick Foundation can help find her baby daughter. Olivia was last with her daughter at a swap meet outside of Phoenix, Arizona.
Meet me in the middle by the food?
Yes, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.
Right here? Hold mommy's hand.
Bye.
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 My husband dropped me off there with my 2 babies, Nayeli, my 2-year-old, and Jacqueline, my 4-month-old baby. I took Jacqueline out of the car with her car seat, and Nayeli, I took her walking.
Before meeting her mother inside, Olivia needed to use the restroom. She finally found a portable bathroom. Faced with its cramped and dirty quarters, Olivia made a split-second decision that would lead to tragedy.
Baby, it's only gonna be for a minute.
Jacqueline couldn't fit inside, so I just took my 2-year-old Nayeli inside the restroom because she could have walked away if I left her outside. I was in the restroom like for a minute. When I came out, Jacqueline wasn't there anymore.
Jacqueline! Jacqueline! Jacqueline!
Hoping that her mother had taken the child, Olivia rushed into the swap meet.
Jacqueline!
And I felt that my heart was beeping like really fast. I was really scared.
Mom, do you have Jacqueline? Do you have the baby? Oh my God, I lost the baby. We gotta go find her.
But I felt more upset and more nervous when I saw my mom that she was by herself. She didn't have the baby. And that's when I felt I was gonna die. I just didn't know what to do.
Olivia and her mother went from booth to booth, asking anybody if they had seen Jacqueline. After 20 horrifying minutes, the police were called. Avondale, Arizona police officers immediately sealed off the swap meet and began an extensive search.
There was an officer stationed at all the exits and along the fence line. And as cars were leaving, we would check the vehicles as they left. As people were leaving the side exits through the gates, we would go ahead and check them, make sure they weren't carrying an infant or had a car carrier.
Jacqueline was not found.
What time did you hear about this baby missing?
One of the swap meet vendors, however, did notice a woman who she felt was acting suspiciously.
Yeah, this really creepy woman came up to my booth, and I had my baby in the car seat, and she started touching her, so I went over to talk to her.
What she related to us was that there was a suspicious woman that actually walked up to her infant and caressed her infant's face and said, "What a beautiful baby." This made her feel uneasy, and this caused her to pay attention to this particular woman.
But authorities were unable to find anyone who matched the vendor's description.
Big black hair.
Hi, this is Colleen Nick from the Morgan Nick Foundation.
Colleen Nick was informed by a national missing children's agency that a baby girl had been abducted in Arizona.
Yeah, hold on a second.
The Morgan Nick Foundation sprang into action.
We're able to do posters. We're able to email Jacqueline's information out to people who might not otherwise get it, and then to also counsel her family over the phone if they would like to talk to us.
On June 25th, Colleen Nick traveled to Avondale, Arizona to meet Olivia Castaneda for the first time and console her in person.
I just want to ask you how you're doing.
I just wish that it could be the day that they call and say that they found her.
Olivia, who blames herself for her child's abduction, was comforted to know that she is not alone in her suffering.
she had her daughter stolen too, and she knows what you're feeling, and it's nicer to talk to someone that knows what you're going through.
But it wasn't your fault. Is that okay?
Oops.
I find that's the greatest need that a family has, just to be able to look someone in the eye and to know that there are other people who haven't given up hope, to know that you're going to survive this, that you're going to come through this, and that hopefully your child is going to come home. And I think that is what I try to bring to families the most, is that hope and that reassurance.
Assisted by the Morgan Nick Foundation, police continue to search for Jacqueline Castaneda. She is now 5 months old and has a unique heart-shaped birthmark on her upper right arm. The selfless work Colleen Nick performs on behalf of families with missing children has not detracted from her primary goal, to find her own daughter, Morgan.
But someday I believe that I will look my daughter in the eye and say, I fought for you every day as hard as I could, and that is why you're home today. I believe and I hope every single day that I get up that today is the day that Morgan comes home. And every night when I go to bed and she's not back yet, I know that I'm one day closer to getting her back.
Racehorse trainer Mary Clark is worried. Her promising filly, Reckless, has been behaving erratically. 3 different vets have been unable to determine why. Desperate, she turns to Sonya Fitzpatrick of Houston, Texas. Like the classic character Dr. Doolittle, Sonya says she can communicate with animals.
Okay, Mary. I can tell you this horse is in terrible pain all down the left side of the face. And I don't know how she stood this pain.
Sonya immediately showed concern for the mare. She said this horse is in tremendous pain, and it's on the left side of her nostril or somewhere on the left side.
Pain was a plausible explanation for Reckless's mysterious conduct over the past several months. Unknown to Sonya, Reckless had been rearing back violently before all her races.
Reckless and easy acting up in the starting gate.
Even worse, she sometimes flipped over backwards, putting herself and her jockey in peril.
And now she's telling me she's flipping to try and get away from the pain.
When I heard the words flip, I was astonished because I hadn't discussed the flipping. And my heart was broken because that meant that this mare had been flipping in these races because of excruciating pain.
No, it's not a tooth. It's something. I'm feeling that there's something stuck in here. I said to Mary, you really need to have this left side x-rayed because I feel there's something stuck in there.
At Texas A&M University, veterinarians take x-rays of Reckless, focusing on the area specified by Sonya. Amazingly, the x-rays confirm there is a mysterious foreign object embedded inside Reckless's head. Next, a veterinary surgeon attempts to remove it.
You are not going to believe what we found.
And he opened his hand and he said, this is what we found in the mare's jawline.
The object is a metal fragment that has broken off from the horse's halter.
Oh my gosh. It was a pretty horrifying thing to look at. He said this would have been the most painful thing I can ever imagine.
Reckless recovers fully following the surgery. She is now retired from racing, completely free from pain.
Sonya truly talks to these horses. They are giving her conversation. They are sharing with her their feelings, their wants, and their desires. It's an amazing gift.
Animals love to talk, and they love it when you answer them. The first time they have someone that answers them, they are so pleased. And it's like, oh, she really can talk our language.
Can Sonya Fitzpatrick truly speak telepathically with animals? Or is she merely a talented showman? 5,000 animal lovers who paid for her services are convinced her gifts are genuine. Skeptics say she's doing nothing more than picking up on the body language of pets, or inadvertent cues from their owners. We'll put Sonya to the test before our Unsolved Mysteries cameras and allow you to judge for yourself.
Bertie O'Reilly, come on, let's eat.
Debbie Oliver was among those who did not believe in Sonya's professed power. Debbie operates a dog kennel in Houston, Texas, and is no stranger to animal behavior.
I thought, you know, she probably just kind of looks at their body language and she can tell what they're thinking. Well, I can do that. And we thought, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Despite her disbelief, Debbie was curious. So she and her husband, Duane, scheduled a session with Sonya to see for themselves.
And what's the name of this beautiful dog, Debbie?
Zach is our golden retriever.
One of the ways Sonya claims to communicate with animals is by inspecting a photograph. This method, she says, is just as accurate as interacting directly with the animal.
I thought this was just basically a waste of money. It's one of the reasons I went is I just didn't want my wife to waste any more money on it. I told Debbie to make sure that she didn't tip Sonya off, and she didn't.
Well, Zach is telling me you've moved house. And since he moved house, he hasn't had any ice cubes.
That's true.
When Sonya talked about the ice cubes, that got my attention right away.
We thought, that's a really specific item. How in the world did she know that?
And he is sending me a picture of little balls, blue balls. Other dogs playing with all these blue balls. And
The more the session went on, the more amazed I became on what was happening there.
And who is this little dog that here? She's just coming in. What's her name?
That's Miss Daisy.
Miss Daisy wants to know, where is that pink thing? Something with her ears that goes on her head and something matching that goes here, pink.
And I went, my gosh, I just went to a flea market a couple weeks ago and I got her this little hat that I have to pull her ears through because she's got long floppy ears and a pink bandana that matches it.
Well, she'd like to wear it more often, Mum, please, and can you put that on her when she goes home? Very polite, your dogs. Now,
there's just no way she could have known that unless she had a detective living with us or had cameras here. So that's kind of when we started thinking, this is pretty amazing. Somehow she really is talking to these animals.
Sonya says her rare ability developed in childhood. It came about, she claims, because she suffered a significant hearing loss that persists to this day.
Having a hearing loss, my senses heightened, and animal senses are very heightened. So I think that is why I was able to speak to animals, because I drew on my other senses.
If Sonya's gift is genuine, can science account for it? Jessica Utts is a professor of statistics at UC Davis. Her statistical evaluations of psychic phenomena indicate it may be valid.
One possible explanation for what Sonya's doing is that we, and animals as well, have some sort of sense that we used to rely on before we had language, and that sense is still quite vital in animals because they don't have language, and that Sonya is somehow able to pick up on that information.
Animals speak in pictures. So if I was to say to you, could you tell me where Buckingham Palace is, or the Statue of Liberty, you form a picture in your mind, you visualize it. And that picture is going out into your energy fields, and the animals see those pictures and receive them from wherever you are.
I think the more likely explanations here are that she's reading the body language of the owners or the body language of the animals. It is probably also the case that we occasionally hear a spectacular story where she gets information that no one could possibly know. But what we don't know is how many times there were other stories that turned out not to be true.
Hello, Sonya.
Nice to meet you.
We asked Sonya to visit pets and owners she had never met before in front of our Unsolved Mysteries cameras. We selected them independently. Sonya had no prior knowledge of their background.
What's this one's name?
That's Minnie.
Minnie? How old is Minnie?
She's approximately 5 years old.
Okay. Now, Minnie says she lives with other animals as well, so you better tell me what the other cat's name is.
The other cat's name is Murphy.
Murphy? There was a time when she felt sick.
I don't recall her being sick.
She's feeling sick. What is it you use in your house on the floors?
We don't use anything on the floors other than vacuuming on the carpet and...
No. What do you use that you wash your floors with? Sorry.
Ammonia. bleach.
Exactly. It's the worst thing you can do for your cat.
She discussed the fact that my cat seemed to have some illness related to the cleaning products that I used on my kitchen floor. And the fact of the matter is the cat is now an outdoor cat and has been for some time.
Now, Minnie thinks she's in charge, and she's telling me she's in charge, so
Overall, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, she got 2 right out of 10.
Yeah, she said that she's... Some animals are really clear with their communication and very direct, and then just as people, others don't communicate so well. So before they can send you a reply back. So that is the reason why sometimes I don't always get something, and I do occasionally get animals like that. Hello, beautiful. Hi, what's your horse's name?
Charlie.
Charlie. Oh, Charlie.
Charlie is an 11-year-old racehorse. Sonya has not been told that he almost died recently after suffering continual abuse from a previous owner.
He's very emotional. He's had a lot of pain in his life, and I'm feeling that pain from him. And he's had a tremendous amount of abuse.
I was surprised that she picked up on the fact that he had been abused so quickly. I really expected her to ask me questions that anybody could figure out, okay, well, from that, I would assume that he had been abused. But she basically started just talking to me.
His leg, he's also had a problem here. Here.
It was real strange that she would be able to pinpoint an injury from his hip because there's no scars.
I mean, he was in such pain and agony at one time, and something with the foot that was really painful.
He has a crack in his hoof, and she knew which hoof was cracked.
And that brings back the memories every time the ears are touched. The hardest part is when an animal has been abused, and sometimes even now I think, oh God, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear what's been done. I don't want to know, but I have to know. To be able to help them, I have to know what's going on. He wants to know, is he going to be staying with you forever and ever?
Oh, absolutely.
I get tremendous inner satisfaction, the fact that I've been able to be a voice for the animals. It feeds my soul. That's the only way I can tell you. It feeds my soul and my spirit. And yes, I love it. I love talking to the animals.
What's going on there?
It's a big fire.
What?
It's a really big fire behind. It just like blew up.
Okay, what's on fire?
The whole house.
The whole house?
The whole house is burning up.
8:42 a.m., Scottsdale, Arizona. A quiet residential neighborhood was rocked by a powerful explosion. The force of the blast ripped through the roof of this ranch-style home, causing it to burst into flames. Firefighters quickly contained the swift-moving blaze, but not before much of the residence had been destroyed. The home was owned by Robert and Mary Fisher, who lived there with their 2 children, 12-year-old Brittany and 10-year-old Bobby Jr. When efforts to locate the Fishers proved unsuccessful, the fire department feared the worst, that the entire family had perished in the blaze. When rescuers were finally able to get inside the house, they found the remains of Mary Fisher and her 2 children in the smoldering ruins. Still lying in their beds, they appeared to have died in their sleep. But the remains of Robert Fisher were not found in the burned-out home, and he continues to be missing. Within days, investigators learned that it was not the fire that killed Mary Fisher and her 2 children. The 3 victims had had their throats cut. Could Robert Fisher, the seemingly dedicated family man, also have been a ruthless killer? If so, he was hiding a terrible secret his own sister found impossible to comprehend.
My brother loved his kids and his wife. A year ago, there's no way I would have imagined any of this. I trusted my brother with my life. There's no way I would have thought he would be capable of this.
The Fishers were known as a devoted church-going family.
Mary, how are you, sweetheart?
Good, Reverend.
Oh, these kids are grown.
Robert and Mary met in high school and had been married for 16 years. Brittany attended junior high, and Bobby was a 5th grader.
I'll see you next week.
After a stint in the Navy, Robert Fisher served as a firefighter before a back injury cut short his career. Within a few years, he became a proud father of 2 children.
Robert was a very private person. Outwardly, he's perceived as a good father, good husband, church-going man. During the investigation, we found that Robert Fisher had a number of faces, a number of masks that he wore.
Would a man who wore masks try to disguise the state of his marriage? Investigators learned from friends and co-workers that there may have been mounting turbulence in the Fisher home. 2 years prior to the murders, Robert came to Mary with troubling news.
Remember the massage therapist that I was going to because of my back? Sure. Honey, I ended up having an affair with her.
Mary was shattered by his infidelity.
Leave you. I want you out. I want you out. Just leave. Just leave.
Fisher headed to a forest north of Scottsdale, where he sought solace at his favorite hunting grounds. When he returned a few days later, he and Mary reconciled and even agreed to counseling at their church.
We need to address the personal issues. Those are the things that usually are at the crux of any dispute, disagreement.
Robert had suffered deep emotional scars at the divorce of his own parents, and he was adamant that his children not be subjected to that same emotional pain.
He's prayed about it, Mary.
Robert had told my dad many times that divorce was not an option. He would not be divorced like his parents were. He did state that several times, Robert did.
But despite his determination, marital troubles apparently resurfaced in the Fisher home just prior to the murders.
Mary never told me that there were any problems, but there was arguing a lot. I think Robert was very controlling, telling her things that he didn't need to say in front of a lot of people.
We spoke with a very close friend of Mary's and learned that she had confided in her that she was thinking about divorcing Robert.
You've done this again. I just can't believe it after all the work.
Neighbors told investigators that late on the night of the murders, the Fishers had a loud disagreement.
I'm calling the lawyer tomorrow.
I don't think that he planned this on this particular day. This is what I'm going to do. I think that it precipitated over a long period of time, and there was that one thing that triggered it. And that could have been the argument.
Could Robert Fisher have murdered his wife and children rather than put them through the heartache of divorce? The crime scene investigation had uncovered intriguing clues. A disconnected natural gas line, an out-of-place candlestick holder, and the residue of some form of highly flammable liquid, which led detectives to piece together a chilling scenario of what they believed transpired on the night of the murders.
There was some type of a lacerated trauma to all 3 victims' necks, which could not have occurred during the fire.
Several hours before the explosion, investigators theorized that Robert Fisher slashed the throats of each of his children and then his wife. In addition to having her throat cut, evidence also showed Mary Fisher was shot.
Fire from a gas explosion usually isn't as intense as the fire at the Fisher residence, so there was some type of other flammable material used.
Investigators think Robert Fisher doused the house with the ignitable fluid. Then the former firefighter is believed to have disconnected the line leading to the gas furnace.
As a source of ignition, we believe that a candle with a candle holder was used as a timing device in order to allow Robert time to leave the residence.
Hours later, once a sufficient amount of gas had built up, this candle then triggered the explosion and ignited the subsequent fire.
Robert committed the arson in order to cover up the murders, believing that the bodies would be burned beyond recognition and would have covered up any sign of what had happened. but it didn't cover it up quite as well as expected.
A full-scale manhunt turned up few leads. Then, 10 days later, Mary Fisher's SUV, which disappeared the same night as the murders, was spotted by a hiker more than 100 miles away in the Tonto National Forest. It had apparently been left there the day before.
It was clean. There was no dust on it. It was underneath pine trees, and there was very little pine tree needles on top of the vehicle or in the vehicle, which indicated to us that it had probably been dumped there within 24 hours of discovery.
Investigators descended on the remote area. They learned from Fisher's friends that he went there often on hunting trips. The conditions were harsh, and the landscape itself was riddled with hundreds of caves. Days of extensive searching would prove fruitless. Two theories emerged. One speculated that a despondent Robert Fisher took refuge in one of the caves, where he eventually committed suicide. The other theory suggested that a cunning Fisher left the SUV behind to divert the attention of investigators and then vanished.
Where would he be? How could he have gone to where he would be? He didn't take any money with him. And he would be in so much physical pain from his back. I don't know if he did this, I don't know how he could be alive, knowing how much my brother loved his family.
However, Detective John Kirkham does not subscribe to the suicide theory, and he feels that Robert Fisher is not dead.
The theory of Robert Fisher committing suicide in the woods after leaving the vehicle, I believe is a remote possibility. The vehicle itself was about a quarter of a mile off of an improved Forest Service road. It's a fairly active area with a lot of traffic on that road. And there are various places that one could use a phone, catch a ride, that sort of thing. He has now probably started a new life under an assumed identity.
If Robert wanted to kill himself, he would have done it when he killed Mary, Brittany, and Bobby, is what my belief. So I do believe Robert is alive, yes.
Robert Fisher has been indicted for the murders of his wife and children. Fisher is 41 years old, stands 6 feet tall, and weighs 190 pounds. He also has surgical scars on his lower back and a gold crown on his upper left canine tooth. Robert Fisher should be considered armed and dangerous. Join me next time for another intriguing hour of Unsolved Mysteries.